The American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, is often seen as an unavoidable clash over the institution of slavery. But what if slavery had been abolished peacefully before the war ever broke out? How might American history and the world have changed? A different political landscape. If slavery had been abolished peacefully, it would have required extraordinary political compromise and leadership during the early to mid-19th century. Perhaps a combination of gradual emancipation laws, economic incentives for slaveholders, and federal support for the Southern economy could have convinced states to give up slavery without resorting to secession. Without slavery as the central issue dividing North and South, tensions over states' rights, tariffs, and political power would still exist, but they might not have been severe enough to spark full-scale war. The political system, including fragile compromises like the Missouri Compromise and the Compromise of 1850, might have held together longer, leading to a more stable and united country. Economic and social changes. The Southern economy, built heavily on slave labor, would have needed to transition toward free labor systems earlier. This could have spurred innovation and industrialization in the South, similar to the North's growth. Freed African Americans might have entered the workforce in greater numbers, contributing to a more diverse and prosperous economy across the entire country. However, racial prejudice would not have vanished overnight. Even without slavery, deep-seated racism and social inequality would likely have persisted. African Americans might still have faced systemic discrimination, though perhaps without the additional trauma of post-war Reconstruction and Jim Crow laws imposed with the bitterness of a defeated South. Global implications. If the United States had abolished slavery early and peacefully, it might have strengthened its moral standing internationally, particularly in Europe, where abolition movements were gaining strength. A united, slavery-free America would have been an even greater economic and political power by the late 19th century, possibly playing a stronger role on the world stage earlier, influencing global movements for democracy and human rights. A different civil rights struggle. Without the deep scars left by the Civil War and Reconstruction, the civil rights movement might have emerged differently. Progress toward racial equality could have started earlier, but without the stark redemption backlash of the post-war South, the struggle might have taken a different, possibly less violent form. However, it's important to note that systemic inequality likely would not have disappeared quickly. Even in northern states where slavery was abolished before the Civil War, African Americans still faced significant barriers to full citizenship and opportunity. Conclusion. If slavery had been abolished before the Civil War, the United States could have avoided its bloodiest conflict, saving hundreds of thousands of lives and untold economic devastation. The nation might have entered the 20th century stronger, more unified, and further along the path toward racial equality. Yet, even in this optimistic alternate history, true justice and equality would have remained hard-won goals, requiring continued struggle and transformation. History, after all, is shaped as much by deep-rooted beliefs as by political decisions, and changing hearts and minds has never been easy.